Fans are frustrated. We're frustrated. The playoffs are here, and we're not where we want to be yet. This is when you're most tested as a team.
We begin storm now. The storm's gonna make us stronger.
We got pain in our heart. Let that go.
We believe in every player in this locker. In our will, in our heart to push through and do anything for this team and this city.
For this city, I'll do anything.
It's time for the playoffs. Now is when we come together. It's about who wants it most. And I know we f***ing want this.
We welcome you into the Eagles pregame show brought to you by SeatGeek. Welcome to the playoffs. The Eagles limp their way into Tampa Bay to take on the 9-8 Buccaneers and to wrap up Super Wild Card Weekend. I'm Ben Goldstein. I'm joined by Gus Barber. The usual host or co-host with me, Sam Hine, is at the game. So Gus Barber is filling in for him today. Gus, it's been a long regular season, and for better or worse, here we are in the postseason.
Yeah, long, excruciating regular season nonetheless. It's been ups, it's been downs, it's been a heck of a roller coaster. But you know what the playoffs say? You know what they say about the playoffs, 0-0, brand new season. Let's get this thing going, man.
Yeah, brand new season. Everybody's the same record, 0-0, but it's hard to ignore the Eagles, who were supposed to be at the top of the NFC, finished with the 5 seed. 11-6 they finishing off the season 5-6. While the Bucs, kind of a different story. They were supposed to be middle of the pack, not so good. They're still middle of the pack, but won the NFC South, finishing 9-8 and ending the regular season 5-1, to the complete opposite of the Eagles. The Bucs at home are 4-4. They're hosting tonight the Eagles, who were 5-3 on the road. We'll start with the quarterback matchups, as we always do. Kickoff is at 8:15. It's 7:35. We are nice and close to kickoff, and we're going to lead you right up to it. Jalen Hurts this season, he is starting for the Eagles. He has a little bit of an injury, which we'll get to in a second. Hurts, he is 11-6 this season, 3,858 passing yards, a completion percentage of 65.4, 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, a passer rating of 89.1, 605 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. Gus, Jalen Hurts is coming into this game with a dislocated middle finger on his right throwing hand. He came into the stadium with some tape. His fingers were taped up. He had a glove on in warm-ups today. Does this worry you at all? He didn't throw a ball much at practice this week. Is this a problem? And how should we monitor this throughout the night?
Yeah, I know us Eagles fans are just trying to hope that this little dislocated finger isn't much of an issue. But if you really look at the aspects of this injury, a quarterback, on his throwing hand, his two most important fingers are his thumb and his middle finger. Those are the two fingers they use the most to grip the football. Not only that, but the middle finger is the last finger that they use really to flick the football. And that's the most important finger, really. So can this be a serious situation and a problem for the Eagles? I really do think it is. I think Jalen Hurts banging that middle finger and not throwing a pass all week, it's a little bit worrisome if you're an Eagles fan, but the plus side you got to hope is maybe finally this team is going to lean on the run game, get Agent Zero going, let DeAndre Swift carry the rock. Last time this team versed each other, DeAndre Swift had a big game. So can this finger injury be a serious problem? I think yes, so for the Eagles and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, it was lucky for the Eagles. DeAndre Swift did go off in week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Hurts threw for 277 yards and a touchdown, but he was picked off twice. DeAndre Swift rushed for 130 yards. Has not rushed for 100 yards since that game, so hopefully they can get something going back tonight. The Eagles won that game 25-11. Another guy had a great night that night was A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is inactive tonight after that knee injury he suffered last week in New York. Gus, I want to hear your opinions on if the Eagles made the right decision last week starting their starters, and kind of just how they'll adjust without A.J. Brown this season. The last time the Eagles didn't have A.J. Brown for a game was 2022 in the wild card round against these Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, and I know us Eagles fans were going to be saying, why did the Eagles play their starters, especially in a stadium that's known for injuries? But I personally think that the Eagles should have played their starters. There was still an NFC East division title up for grabs. Obviously, the Cowboys had a good chance of beating the Commanders, but never say never. Obviously, we all thought the Cowboys were going to beat the Packers in the wild card round. They got spanked, so anything could happen. So yeah, I think the Eagles playing the starters that last week was the right call. Playing them that long, I'm not sure, but you had to at least play them.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts said after he suffered that injury that it was a mistake for him to go back in that game. Might have made the injury a little worse. So hopefully it doesn't linger into this week. But another problem with the Eagles and Hurts is they cannot handle the blitz very well. And unfortunately for them, the Buccaneers blitz 37.9% of the time. That's the third most in the NFL. How will the Eagles and Hurts handle that this week?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the Hurts injury. And I think with that injury, it's going to limit the passing game, especially with one of your top, if not your top guy, A.J. Brown, being out. So I think one way to minimize the blitzing game of the Buccaneers defense is just to run the ball. You run the ball, you eliminate the blitz, you try to find ways to eliminate that extra rusher. And I think that's just handing the rock off to DeAndre Swift, and letting him figure it out. And you saw earlier in the season, like I said, when they played each other, he had a big game, and that was one of the reasons why the Tampa Bay defense and how they like to blitz was pretty much inefficient and pretty much absent.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Eagles, the Buccaneers' run defense has gotten much better since that game. Vita Vea is, he is who he is, and he will certainly be tough for the Eagles' run and the tush push today, Gus.
100%. Vita Vea, one of the most underrated defensive tackles in the league, doesn't get as much hype because he doesn't get the sacks, but as a run stuffer, as a pure defensive tackle, he's one of the best in the business, and he's going to show again tonight why he's going to be able to cause havoc in the run game. And I think it's going to be fun to see this Eagles interior line, who has very, very high praise, go against this highly touted defensive tackle.
We'll get to that more in our matchups to watch later in the show. Let's move on to Baker Mayfield, who was kind of counted out when he went to the Bucs. Kind of people were saying his career is over. He has reignited himself down in Tampa Bay, filling in for the great Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield this season led his team to a 9-8 record, 4,044 passing yards, completion percentage of 64.3. He threw 28 touchdowns and also had 10 interceptions. The passing yards, completion percentage, and touchdowns are all a career high for him this season. Against the Eagles back in week 3, Mayfield was 15 for 25, 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and he was sacked twice. However, Baker Mayfield is also coming into this game with some injuries. So 2 banged-up quarterbacks. Mayfield was questionable all week with ankle and rib injuries, but he is going to play tonight, and he is going to have 2 of the best wide receivers. He's going to have one of the best wide receiver duos in the league with him tonight, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, against the banged-up Eagles secondary, who will not have Reed Blankenship tonight, Gus.
Yeah, and that's a huge loss for this Eagles defense. Let's just be honest, been struggling all year long, and one of their best players on that defensive side has been Reed Blankenship. So losing him And Sidney Brown, let's not forget that. Sidney Brown out for the year. So the safety position for the Eagles pretty much is a toss-up. And you look at Baker Mayfield, yeah, he's a little banged up. He's been dealing with a nagging rib injury. He just got that ankle injury last week. But like you said, having a career year, going into a Tampa Bay system that has really just let him flourish as a player, really starting to let him get comfortable. And like you said, one of the best wide receiver tandems in the league, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, going against an Eagles secondary that's not only banged up, but that has been pretty bad all year long. So this is going to be a great matchup for Baker Mayfield and his wide receivers. But let's just see if the Eagles pass rush can get to him.
Yeah, so this week, or during this week at practice, nickel quarterback Avonte Maddox was playing safety next to Kevin Byard, who was the only healthy safety on this 53-man roster. So expect to see some Maddox tonight back at safety, Gus.
Which I absolutely love. I really like the player Avonte Maddox is. I think he's a very versatile safety. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of like that Malcolm Jenkins type player where he can play the slot, he can play the outside, used to be a safety, so he can play there. I think Avonte Maddox sliding over to that safety position is going to help them solidify that safety, but it's going to hurt the secondary as like we said, the secondary just has not been performing up to par this year. What we thought of, James Bradbury's just been absolutely getting cooked. Darius Slay had a pretty good season, not what we all would think of Darius Slay, but he's coming off that knee surgery, cleanup, whatever you want to call it. He hasn't played in a couple weeks, so he's coming back into a secondary that's banged up. And you look at these rookies, besides Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks up and down, and Josh Jobe up and down. So, yeah, it's Avonte Maddox moving to safety is going to help that safety position, but I think it's really going to hurt the cornerback's position.
Yeah, Darius Slay returning tonight for the Eagles. A huge game back for that secondary. Tampa head coach, thought this was interesting. Todd Bowles, he has coached for 6 years and has made the playoffs with the Bucs, and he has never won a playoff game in his career. So we'll see if that holds true tonight. Notable matchups for tonight's game. Gus, what matchups do you think are notable in the wild card match? Ending wild card weekend, Eagles-Buccaneers.
Yeah, so there's a couple interesting matchups I'm really looking at in this game, and one of them is going to be the Buccaneers wide receivers against this Eagles secondary. We talked about it just a couple seconds ago about the Buccaneers tandem receivers and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans might be one of the best in the league going against an Eagles secondary that's very banged up and very bad this year. So that is one of the key matchups I'm looking at. Another matchup I'm looking at, how the Eagles are going to be able to work around Antonio Winfield Jr. Obviously not a highly touted guy. You don't really hear a lot of him this year, but having one of his best seasons, the highest rated safety in the league, he can pass coverage, he can run stuff, he can pretty much do it all, and he's one of those best one of the best Bucs defenders. So I'm looking to see how the Eagles are going to play around that. And obviously, Jalen Hurts, what is he going to be like today? Is he going to be the Jalen Hurts before the injury? Is the injury going to really affect him? Is he going to throw a lot? Is he going to run a lot? Just seeing the matchup of Jalen Hurts against this overall Bucs defensive line, you've seen him get a little skittish at times, get out of the pocket early. So see how he pretty much goes against this Bucs defensive front.
Yeah, some news around the NFL. The Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh Steelers just got matched up. I've seen it. That Buffalo Stadium was crazy with the snow all over the stands. I can't even imagine. Pretty insane. But the Bills come out with the victory 31-17 over the Steelers. So next week's AFC divisional playoffs are now set. It'll be Texans-Ravens at 4:30 on Saturday and Chiefs-Bills again, 6:30 on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes' first career road playoff game will be in Buffalo. It's insane. He's been in the playoffs every year he's been around, and this is his first road playoff game. That just shows you how dominant that team has been over the last couple of years, Gus.
Oh my God, yeah. I didn't even realize that until you said that. That's kind of a mind-boggling stat to think of. His playoff record, it's so good. He's played so many games, and this is his first playoff road game. That is one of a kind right there by Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. Well, let's get to the sponsor of the show, which all year has been SeatGeek. SeatGeek. It's the easiest way to buy your tickets to literally anything. Even Gus Barber uses it all the time.
Yes, I do.
And you should too. Sports, concerts, comedy shows, you name it. I know Gus wants to go see Shane Gillis if he ever comes to Philadelphia. He's a big Shane Gillis guy.
Yes, I am.
So all you got to do, download the SeatGeek app. Get your tickets. Green spots are good. Red spots are bad. All you got to, when you go to check out, we have you with the money saver. All you got to do, download the SeatGeek app and use code Philly Sports Report. You can save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Again, that's code Philly Sports Report to save $20 off your first purchase. Again, thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring. Go in the description on YouTube or the bio on Twitter and Instagram and go save some money. Eagles division NFC Championship game could be in Philadelphia. So we'll see how that goes. Gus, last time you were on this show was for the Phillies playoffs, and you were hot with your SeatGeek standout stars. The one positive about those playoffs was we did pretty good with our SeatGeek standout stars. Can you continue that hot streak with the Eagles, Gus?
I'm hoping so. Thank you for bringing up about my hot streak. I felt like every game I was picking at least one of the standout stars, if not both of them. And tonight, I'm going to try to keep the hot streak going. One of my standout stars I have is DeAndre Swift of the Eagles offense. Like I said, the Eagles, if they want to have any success offensively today, they're going to have to get the ground game going, especially with Jalen Hurts' injury. So I think Agent Zero, he's going to have a huge game, maybe run for over 100 yards, definitely get a touchdown. And I think DeAndre Swift offensively is going to be the Eagles standout star. Now defensively, oh God, I don't even know, especially with this Eagles defense. But looking at it, I think the defensive line is going to have to step up big time and have a big game if this defense is going to want to have any shot of keeping the Eagles in this game. And I think that all starts with the pressure on the quarterback, and that comes from the man himself, Hassan Reddick. I think Hassan Reddick is going to get a sack or two, have a big game defensively, and slow down this Buccaneers offense a little bit.
Yes, there you go. Thank you to SeatGeek again for sponsoring the SeatGeek Standout Stars in this whole show. Go down to the description or to the bio and go save some money with SeatGeek. We move on to our inactives that just came out a little bit ago, and some big names on here for the Eagles. Tanner McKee, Tyler Steen, Moro Ojomo, Rashad Penny, Reed Blankenship, and A.J. Brown are all inactive tonight. For the Bucs, it's John Wolford, Brandon Walton, Marquise Watts, J.J. Russell, and Jose Ramirez. I thought I was reading the Cleveland Guardians roster when I read that Jose Ramirez. But no, for the Bucs. So the Bucs are coming in somewhat healthy. The Eagles a little banged up. Gus Bus.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the same story every year for the Eagles. They get into the playoffs and they're dealing with some sort of injuries here or there. Kind of feels like it's every year except for last year. Last year I felt like was one of the few years the Eagles went into the playoffs pretty healthy except for a couple guys. This year, the complete opposite, very banged up. Their starting quarterback's banged up. Wide receivers are banged up. A bunch of defenders are banged up. And it's going to be a big factor of Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown being out. I know we talked about Avonte Maddox moving over to safety, but I think the defense is going to be hit big time in this game for the injuries. And offensively, like we sound like a broken record, but how is this finger going to affect Jalen Hurts? I think that is the biggest injury story leading into this game.
That's definitely for sure. I want to go back on last year's injuries, and you don't realize how lucky the Eagles got last year with the injuries. They went in so healthy into the playoffs, had pretty much a perfect roster going into the Super Bowl. got matched up with the Giants, which we found out were fraudulent in that NFC divisional round. They were lucky enough to knock Brock Purdy out of the game in the NFC Championship game. And, just so the one time Philadelphia sports got a break, and it all came crashing down in that second half of the Super Bowl. But we're going to keep it positive here today, Gus, and we're going to talk about the Gamblers Are Us Bets. Gus's podcast with Philly Sports Report. You can catch his brother on it. You can catch his dad on it. Fat Ninja. The Gamblers Are Us podcast. Go watch that on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow on Twitter /X at Gamblers Are Us. Gus, what are your bets tonight? The Eagles are -3. Over on is 43. The money lines. Eagles -160. Bucks +135. And what are your locks of the day?
Yeah, little rough weekend for myself. Only had 2 correct. I had Kansas City winning their game, and I had the Bills winning their game. But besides that, little rough weekend for me. But that's going to happen in the sports gambling world. So tonight, what I am looking at, over and under. I think both offenses, one is dealing with injuries. The other one has just been struggling. They both are up and down. I like the under with the 43 points. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think the defenses are going to show, at least the Buccaneers are going to show what they've been able to do all year. And the Buccaneers offense, like I said, Baker Mayfield, banged up. We'll be able to see how he comes out. But nonetheless, Eagles offense banged up just as much. I'm going with the under. With the spread, I like. If it was still at 2.5, I probably would have went the Eagles. But with the 3, it's kind of tough. If I had to pick with the 3, I'd probably go the Buccaneers. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. Go back down to 2.5. I like the Eagles. But outright winner, I'd probably have to go with, obviously, the Birds tonight. I think, somehow, some way, they're going to get it done like they did earlier in the year against the good teams and not have a second half collapse like they did in the second half of this season.
Yeah, that would be great. So we'll get to our predictions in a little bit. Gus, you have some key. Oh, wait, let's look at Sam Hines' bets really quick because he sent me in his bets for tonight. Sam Hines, who's out in Tampa Bay. We'll look at his fit check in a little bit. Sponsored by FOCO, but Sam Hines is going with the Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. He's going with the Julio Jones touchdown. He's going for DeAndre Swift, 60.5 yards over. And he's going with Devontae Smith over 67.5 yards. What do you think about Sam's places? And would you encourage those on the Gamblers Are Us podcast?
I do like him. I would encourage him. I think Jalen Hurts, if he is going to have a big game, it's going to have to be with his legs. So an anytime touchdown there, I love. I think if you're going to sprinkle any other anytime touchdown, I would personally go DeAndre Swift. But anything Devontae Smith-wise, all hit the over. It's going to be a huge Devontae Smith game, and it is going to be like he said, I think it's going to be a big Julio Jones game going against one of his former teams. They need him to ball out. I think this is going to be the Julio Jones Eagles breakout game.
Yeah, that would be certainly awesome. The Eagles got Julio Jones from the Bucs earlier this season. Julio Jones, I guess, thought he was title racing, going for a ring, and he ended up with the Eagles. So we'll see what happens tonight. Anything can happen in the postseason. Keys to the game, Sam. You're in your car. You got to use keys to start the car, and you got to have some keys to win a football game. So what are your keys for the Eagles tonight?
Yeah, keys for the game tonight. Like I said, it's going to sound like a broken record, but establish the run game early and pound it down their throat. If you're going to have any success offensively tonight, I think it is going to be through the ground game, and I think that's going to have to be with DeAndre Swift and Jalen Hurts. So that is key number 1. Key number 2, get pressure on the quarterback. Baker Mayfield, he is hurt. He is banged up. He is a strong quarterback, but he can be mobile at times. But right now, I think it's the least mobile he's going to be in the whole season. Get him early, get him often, and make him feel pressured. I think if you make him feel pressured, he's going to make a mistake here or there, or he's just going to take the sack. Key number 3, get as many points as you can. Now, obviously, that sounds very, obviously you want to get as many points. What I mean by that, if you can get a field goal, go for the field goal. If you are close to the end zone, try to punch it in. If not, just try to get points as much as you can. I think points are going to be at a premium tonight, especially if it's going to be rainy. So maybe should have took him as a standout star, but Jake Elliott, I think Jake Elliott's going to have a big game, have a couple field goals, and really solidify this Eagles offense, defense team as a whole.
Yes, those are your keys to the game. Thank you, Gus. And a little bit of a weather update, as you mentioned. That they said it's beautiful down in Tampa right now at Raymond James Stadium, but the radar is showing rain from 8 to 9 tonight. But right now it's super nice, so it'll be nice at kick. It'll be start to rain around kickoff for about an hour. So hopefully by the second half things start to clear up. But we will see how it goes. The Eagles have played so many rain games. They just can't avoid them. Hopefully they'll avoid one next week in Detroit. The Sam Hine FOCO fit check, and we'll talk about Gus's fit as well. Thank you to FOCO for sponsoring. Click on that link, foco.vegb.net/PSR to save 10% off any order at FOCO. I know Gus wants his overalls when the Phillies start back up.
I've been looking at overalls so bad. I just saw some national championship Michigan ones on FOCO.
Ooh.
This close to purchasing it. Got my girlfriend's birthday coming up, though. Got to focus on that first, obviously. But, yeah, FOCO has fantastic options over there. Very drooling over here.
Yeah, so here's Sam Hine down at the stadium. He's walking with the Devontae Smith. He says it's going to be a big day for Smitty at the pirate ship. What are your thoughts on the pirate ship inside of a football stadium? This is interesting.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one of the best stadiums in the league, and that is going to be because of the ship in the stadium. It's a literal pirate ship in a stadium, and when they score a touchdown, they fire the cannons and everything. It's the coolest thing ever. Come on. If you don't like it, you're silly.
Well, hopefully they won't be firing off too many
let's
cannonballs
hope they don't fire off
today.
tonight.
Yeah, Sam told me he had a really awesome fit and plan for tonight, but since it's raining, he didn't go through with it, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So thank you, Sam. Gus, what are we rocking with tonight, Monday Night Football?
Like I said, I think it's going to be kind of low scoring. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I got the Eagles winning 21-18.
Oh, 18, a close one. I don't know if it's going to be that close, but I think the Eagles are going to win. I don't think I predicted an Eagles loss on here all year except to maybe Dallas or something. I forget if I predicted one of those, but yeah. I think I'm going with the Eagles. I was back and forth all day. All week I'm saying the Eagles are going to lose, but I think the Eagles are going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. So I'm going Eagles 27-20 is my score prediction. Kind of not a lower scoring one, but the defense keeping a team down to 20 points is huge. And, Baker Mayfield isn't ever much in the postseason. So we'll see what happens. I don't know exactly how to feel about this game, and I've kind of been swinging back and forth, but I think the Eagles will find themselves in Detroit next Sunday at 3:00, Gus.
I am going to have to agree with you, and I am looking forward to that game, a DeAndre Swift legacy game next week, going against his old team that just chucked him out the door for nothing. He's going to do well tonight, and then he's going to go into Detroit salivating.
Could you imagine if the Lions kept DeAndre Swift, just how much more dominant that team would be? I mean, last night at Detroit, that was a once in a lifetime atmosphere at Detroit. I mean, you've seen it here in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park in their first playoff game at CBP in 11 years. Imagine not having a playoff game in your city for 30 years and not winning a playoff game in 32 years. It's just insane, and it was special to watch last night. That was for sure, and hopefully the Eagles will go in there. I think something good about maybe the Eagles playing Detroit next week, because I think last night was Detroit's Super Bowl. I think that's what they're going to celebrate, and they're going to be hung over a little bit from that win and that atmosphere, beating Matt Stafford in his return. And usually when teams have games like that, they don't do very well the next week, where the Eagles are kind of hopefully go back to their hungry dog mentality, their underdog mentality, instead of their puppy dog mentality that they have right now. And we'll see if they can come out of here with a win tonight, Gus.
Let's hope, man. Let's hope.
Yeah, so that is going to do it from us tonight for the Eagles pregame show, brought to you by SeatGeek. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching over there. If you're not, go over there and do it anyway. Follow us on X/Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads. Follow both of us on Twitter. My @'s right there. Gus's, just look up Gus Barber. It'll come up. Make sure to go listen to the Make sure to go listen to the Gamblers RS podcast as well, and follow them on Twitter and Facebook. Check the PhillySportsReports.com for the post-game recap, and tomorrow for my observations. Got a 2-hour delay tomorrow at school. They just called, so I'll be up a little. I can don't have to go to sleep right after the game, which will be great. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. We'll end it with the Eagles hype video again, because it's okay. It's an okay one this year, I think. It's all right. It gets the job done.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's all right.
So thank you again, everyone, for watching. Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Fans are frustrated. We're frustrated. The playoffs are here, and we're not where we want to be yet. This is when you're most tested as a team.
We begin storm now. The storm's gonna make us stronger.
We got pain in our heart. Let that show.
We believe in every player in this locker. In our will, in our heart to push through and do anything for this team and this city.
For this city, I'll do anything.
It's time for the playoffs. Now is when we come together. It's about who wants it most. I know we f***ing want this.